to Broadway Interludes, presented by Art Lab. I'm your host, Megan Chocolates, and I'm joined by the beautiful and ever so talented Chilina Kennedy.
Hi.
Chilina, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm so thrilled that she's here because she's amazing. I mean, what haven't you done, honestly? I was reading up all about you last night. Of course, I'm well aware of you. I saw you in Paradise Square. You were phenomenal.
Thank you.
Such a grounded performance. I mean that genuinely.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Those are, so genuine, so grounded. It was really inspiring.
Thank you.
I have to start off. Sorry, I'm fangirling. I'm so sorry.
No.
But anyway, we will talk about all of the roles that you've had, all of the amazing roles that you've originated. But before we get to that, I would love to talk about how your theatrical journey began. How did you get started?
Well, I mean, listen, all I ever wanted to do was be on stage. I didn't know how, but I started dancing when I was 4. I started playing piano when I was 4. And it's kind of everything I've wanted to do. So I had to decide when I was in high school whether I was going to go into opera or whether I was going to go into musical theater. So I figured I would just, use the training that I had and the talents that I had and go into musical theater instead of giving up my dance and my acting. But I was classically trained in every way, like classically trained in piano, ballet, voice, and it was kind of nice to stretch a little bit when I went to Sheridan College.
Right.
So Sheridan was where Come From Away originated.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and that was my college. So I went there, and then afterwards I worked at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival for a few years, and I did the conservatory there. So that was sort of like it was a year-long program that was really good in terms of like my classical acting abilities. Just give me some extra training.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, most performers have that one show they did in their youth, whether that be high school or prior to that. Did you have that one role where it was your first like star moment?
Oh yes, Anne of Green Gables.
Anne of Green Gables!
I think it's the longest running, maybe the longest running musical in some history, definitely in Canadian history. It's like, I think it ran for 45 years or 50 years or something like that. When I did it, it was like the 35th anniversary, and I couldn't believe it had been running that long. And I played Anne in high school. That was my first role ever.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh my goodness, wouldn't it be amazing if I played it in Charlottetown, where it originated and where it had been running forever. And so I got the role, and I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I was so excited. I was crying. I did it for 2 years in a row. And then I went back later, later on in my career, and I played Miss Stacy, the school teacher.
Of course, yeah.
And when I was doing another show. So anyway, it's such a big part of Canadian culture and a part of our history.
Out of all of the roles that you have played, which has been your favorite?
Oh, it's such a hard question to answer. I've got 2.
Okay.
I did Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, and I originated Phoebe in Hartford and then at the Old Globe, and I just loved that character. I also loved Evangeline. I did Evangeline in Canada, and it's just such a big story and such an epic musical. That was just incredible. And sorry, I said 2, but there's actually 3. And then Binky in the Saint No Disco. It wasn't it didn't necessarily do as well as we wanted to with the reviews, but I loved it, and it was so much fun. And what a team, and what a great team of writers. And Darko was directing it, and I just felt honored to be a part of that, and it was super fun. And it's also fun to play like roles that are 180. Like I was doing Carole at the time on Broadway, and so to do Binky, who was this complete 180, like this sort of evil person who just used everybody. She went through this crazy transformation. Her look, like she started off with like black hair with bangs and glasses, and then she got so much plastic surgery that by the end of it she was blonde and her nose done and everything. It was just so funny, and I had the tape, and it was really funny.
I didn't know that about the tape and everything.
Yeah, it was
commitment.
Wild. Yeah, it's just fun, and the music was cool, and yeah.
So that was your group of favorites.
Yes.
Have any of those been the most meaningful role that you've played?
Well, I think the most meaningful role would be Carole King on Broadway. I mean, I did it for over 1,200 performances, and I think sometimes, I know it sounds really airy-fairy, but I think art imitates life more often than we want to admit. And I think often we get offered the roles that we're ready for, or that I don't know, maybe that were kind of we put out into the universe. And so it's funny that when I started that show, I had a 5-month-old baby, and in the show itself, Carole is holding this 5-month-old baby. And there was just a lot of things like I got to meet Carole King, I got to play with her, I got to perform with her, I got to talk to her about so many things, and I learned a lot about life and forgiveness and relationships and family through my conversations with her and through exploring who Carole was. And so it kind of had a deeper meaning to me than just doing the show over and over again.
Amazing. Now, I was lucky enough to see you in Paradise Square this past season, as I said earlier, and I was just wondering, there must have been some fun backstage moments with that group of amazing people that you were working with.
Many,
Do you have a favorite memory?
Well, I mean, honestly, every day was a favorite memory. First of all, Joaquina brought in her what's it called when you do karaoke? Her karaoke machine. So she brought in her microphone. We're like, "Hit me, baby, one more time," in the dressing room. I'm like, what are we doing? I mean, like just every day, stuff like that. And it was so packed. Like there were just so many of us in such a small theater that you couldn't help but there were just ridiculous things that would happen every day. We had people doing before the curtain went up. I probably shouldn't even say this, but people doing full-on choreography from a chorus line in Cats, just before the curtain went up on the bar. So they were just so we had great senses of humor. Everybody loved each other. We also did this sort of group circle kind of thing, almost daily, and people would do different, we would do ring shouts, and we would do Irish step, and we would do shout outs, and people would be like, I am, powerful, and we'd have these or if it was somebody's special day, we would, do a special kind of shout out to them, and just a way to connect. And I don't think I've ever been in a cast that's been as tight and as connected and as committed to each other as the cast from Paradise Square. It was just incredible.
Oh, now, at this point, I would normally ask about art lab projects that you've been a part of, but I noticed that you have yet to be on stage with us, so hello, opportunity. Now, the great thing about Art Lab and our lovely leader, Ms. Meg Fofanoff, is that she's really willing to create alongside the artist and make sure your voice is being heard. And also, Meg is so good about telling the stories that need to be told that aren't normally told, putting women in roles that they aren't normally in. And that's just one of the most amazing things about Art Lab. So with all of that in mind, if the world was your oyster and we could wave the magic Art Lab wand, if there's a revival or a show or a role or even a cabaret, anything, what would you like to put on with Art Lab?
Gosh, that is a very tough question to answer. Meg and I have had a wonderful relationship over the past couple of years, and we've had lunches and discussed ideas, and there are just so many. I can't narrow it down to one, but there are many, many roles that I've yet to play, many projects that I can see being reimagined in a very unique way or a unique space, brand new projects that have not been invented yet or been written yet or even thought of yet. And I'm working on a bunch of them myself. I know that, everybody, we were just talking outside and saying how fruitful this time has been. Everybody has got about, 3 or 4 or 5 ideas that they're so excited about. And I just want to get involved with all of them. Everybody just is so ready to get back at it again. And there's so much opportunity. All of these theaters that are sitting empty, all of this space, all of this time, we're creative people, and that's our life source, our lifeblood. So I just want to dive in with about 10 different things.
And Art Lab will be happy to work with you. Now, what have you been up to recently? Any upcoming projects? Anything you're allowed to share?
Yeah, a bunch of them actually. I'm continuing development for a new show called Rough Trade, the musical. So Carole Pope is a rock and roll chick from she's amazing, from the 80s and 90s and 70s as well. She's Canadian, and so this is the story of her and her brother during the AIDS epidemic, and the story of their lives, and how he passed away of AIDS, and how active she was in the community. But the music is amazing, and it's really funny, and it's very, very, it's beautiful and touching and creative, and in so many ways. And my friend Kate Rigg wrote the book to that, and it's all Carole Pope's music, Rough Trades music. So that's exciting. And I wrote a musical. I wrote the lyrics and the music to a song, or to a show called Without Her. And the book writer is Eric Holmes. He's my writing partner. And so we're developing that, and we're doing a concept album at the moment. So that's exciting.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, and then I'm working on like a one-woman show as well, and working on another show in Canada. So there's just, again, like there's just so many beautiful pieces that keep coming to me, and I just have so many different things that I want to dive into.
Well, I wish you the best with all of your many projects. That's so exciting. And that leads to my final question. Chilina, would you please sing for us?
I would love to. I thought you'd never ask.
Logan Medland on piano.
Can anybody find me somebody to love?
Your voice is always a gift. Oh, this has been Broadway Interludes presented by Art Lab. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for watching, and join us next time.